This is a podcast from Hero Time. I'm Pablo. I work with Hirsch, with the CEO from Hero Time, trying to help designers to go through their entire process that it takes to design a game. Like I say, I'm with Hirsch. And hello, Hirsch. How are you?
I'm good, Pablo. Thank you very much.
So today we're going to talk about in the second podcast. We're going to talk about shipping. This is our topic from this one. Okay. Question number one: what is the logic behind shipping prices? When are they low and when are they high?
Generally speaking, people need to understand that shipping, like any other project or like any other product, is basically all about supply and demand. So when there's a lot, when there's surplus of supply and many people want to ship, or many companies, many freight companies want to send products, but there are no customers to send the products. So obviously they lower the prices. And when there are not a lot of, and when there are not a lot of availability to by freight companies to ship, and then many customers want to ship, that's when prices are higher. So people need to understand, with this logic, is that basically prices from March all the way to January keep climbing, almost like on a monthly basis, or towards the end of the year, even on a weekly basis. So as close as we get to Christmas, obviously March, not a lot of people ship, right? Because people are not prepared yet for the Christmas season. They're not prepared for the holiday season. Um, you know, on Q1 of the year, Q2 of the year, not many people shop, so not a lot of people are shipping, and freight companies lower the prices. Yeah, so there's a massive peak in November, December, and then in January it either stays the same as November and December, or it goes even higher. So yeah, people. So that's what I'm also saying to a lot of creators, is because they use board games. I mean, in our board game industry, some games are related to Christmas. If it's a game for toys, or for kids or whatever, so then it's like Christmas related, holiday related.
It's a key date for everyone. I mean, it's the time that you want to sell more games. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's a key date, even
yeah,
even if it's not a Christmas game.
yeah. But if you're kickstarting a game, you already funded your game. It doesn't really matter. Like, you don't have to ship it before Christmas. You can simply
Well,
ship
you
it.
promise stuff during your Kickstarter. You
Yeah,
say
I
some
do.
things that you have to say. You don't have to say. Are you going to Chris? Are we receiving the game on Christmas? Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
You want to promise it. You want
Yeah,
people to
back
be
us.
happy. Yeah,
I mean,
but it doesn't
February
happen.
and March drops, and it drops to the levels that you get on the March last year. I mean, and it goes just like that, or you when it back to drop, it will not drop all the thing all the way down. It just having a new base. I mean,
Well,
maybe this comes to the second question right now
yes,
that we
yes,
have,
yes, exactly.
uh, because right now we're on something. We're on a special times. We're coming out from a pandemic, so the let's go to the second question straight. So, what were the changes in shipping from the pandemic to now?
Yeah. So the pandemic is an amazing example of what you asked prior to this, where, okay, does March go back immediately to what it was March last
Yeah.
year? And obviously, there's some extreme situations that happen throughout the year that are uncontrollable. So according to that, it will. I mean, during the pandemic and since the pandemic, basically, the March wasn't as the previous March. It was like the March. I
Yeah,
remember it was
it's not the same March anymore.
2021. Yeah, yeah. 2021 was a new March.
Yeah.
Was a highlight, was a high point of like October of the previous year, just because it was pandemic. So the pandemic really changed a lot of stuff. And people didn't really, maybe some of them understood, some of them did not, but one of the biggest problems with the pandemic was that ports were not operating in full. So that meant that, again, the supply of freights and containers and everything was limited. And during the pandemic, everyone was spending like crazy because people got free money from the government, and everybody was buying, everybody was shopping, and prices just went so high, totally uncontrollable. And luckily now they went down by a lot. So I remember during the pandemic, for example, a 20-foot container to the US could cost you like $15,000.
Yeah. And right
When
now, Do
Right
you have a
now, it
number
can
right now?
cost you like, yeah, it's around around
Oh,
seven
well.
thousand dollars. Yeah,
And
but
do you
before
think
that, it
that
was
is
like 4,000. Yeah, so
and do you think that because we're around on June, maybe next year they're becoming to also coming down from those
I
numbers, or you think that these numbers are going to be there for staying, this say 7K? Because I remember on 2019, 2020, something like that, it was about $5,000. 20
yeah, yeah,
51,
yeah.
4,000, 5,000 average.
4,000, 5,000 to the US. So I think next year it will keep going down.
Okay.
Um, I mean, this year it will not, but March next year it will start going. I think it will go
Okay.
back to almost normal. I have a gut feeling about that, just because China itself is also has released a lot of its COVID restrictions. So another point that I want to mention is for that influences prices, and something that was unexpected and happened after the pandemic and increased prices because of that was actually the war of Russia and Ukraine. And the reason why it influenced it is because it raised gas prices kind of dramatically, which in turn made all the trucking companies in the US, like the trucking from the port to the end customer, a lot more expensive. We also experienced it during the pandemic where truckers could not go to different
Yeah.
places, cities without being tested and blah, blah, blah. But but yeah, that so trucking within the US also influences price dramatically, not only in the US, but all over the world. You need to understand how it works. So I mean, generally speaking, maybe the freight companies, you only have a few, like six, seven, or whatever. I mean, those that own the massive ships, and they kind of run a monopoly. They can
Yeah.
arrange. They don't, obviously, but theoretically,
They
they see
can.
each other prices and they say, okay,
Yes,
this is
they
my
can. They
price.
can.
They can,
They
they
can
can.
manage the
Yeah.
numbers. I mean, it's there's not too many people there that just need to sit down and with a coffee
Yeah.
between all them and say, okay, what else is gonna be the prices? Let's do 7K, and that's it.
Yeah.
They can.
Yeah.
I'm afraid. I'm afraid that's
But
awful
the
things to say, but
containers.
they.
Yeah, but the containers are not part of the freight company.
Yeah.
So they have companies owning the containers or booking containers. So the way it works is, and this actually leads to the following questions. So I'm going to
Yeah.
emphasize this. So you have the freight companies that owns the boat, the ship, and then you have the container companies, and they basically do the containers. Some freight companies also have containers, but then what happens is a lot of companies, they buy a certain number of containers every week or every month or every year from the freight company, and these are the people where you can, like cargo partners, for example, where they say, you know what, 1 second, um, this year the prices are very high, I'll lower my container prices because I bought them for X amount of money pre-pandemic. I'm going to lower back my prices. So the competition, we will start seeing the prices going down when the container companies start competing for prices, and lowering their own prices as well.
Okay.
Which
So let's move to the other question. Well, you start talking a little bit about it. It's how to make sure. This is the third question, by the way. How to make sure shipping is not delayed for too long.
Oh, okay.
Um,
That's a question that they asked, and this is such an important question because, especially during the pandemic, there were people complaining, and people getting stuck in port for days upon days. So people need to understand that there are two types of delays, and most delays happen because of the port. So the port is too busy. But within the port, there are two types of delays. The first one is like checks. So if, for example, the custom agency in a certain country,
yeah,
um,
the legal stuff, the
yeah,
things that you need to move back and forward. You need to, yeah,
yeah,
those people also that were really well during the pandemic that will not working 100%. So they also give some delays to the whole
no,
process.
but those are not the ones I'm talking about. Those can be
Okay.
avoided. Those can be
Okay.
avoided, and I will explain
That's
how.
that's a great tip. How?
Yeah. Um, okay, I'll talk about how they can be avoided. So again, you have containers that are regular containers. For example, for myself, I booked with a company called Matson a container every week. I ship out every week a container of 20 feet. That's what I booked, right? Every week I have this container. So Matson knows my container is a regular container that is always every Thursday being filled up and being sent. And what that does is this is a regular container, and when it comes to the Chinese port, it goes through right away. When it gets to the U.S., it continues going right away. Okay, so
Okay.
that's regular containers that always come through. Then you have the containers that are irregular. So especially in the pandemic, everybody was purchasing, everybody was freaking out. If you have 20,000 containers regularly on a weekly basis, you had 50,000 containers. What do you do with the extra 30,000? Those containers get delayed in port, get delayed in sea until it's time for them to come in into the port. And nobody can tell you how fast it will come in. If your container is not a regular container, nobody will be able to guarantee for you a time. And so that's a way to avoid. What you need to do, and what basically have done, especially during the pandemic, because during the pandemic it was very, very necessary, is okay, this is my container. I have these containers. I have this commitment. Nobody will mess around with with these containers. Um, it was a lot of it was a lot to solve logistically, but I think yeah, you can even ask. You can ask, I think, all my customers. Except there was one guy that wanted, or two people that wanted very slow shipping and very cheap. And then, okay, you want very, very cheap, you get very cheap,
Yeah,
and I cannot guarantee the time. So, I mean, you can ask most of them. I don't think there were any delays, shipping wise. We
that's
we
cool.
we made a game right now. The cookie shop. He already
Okay.
got his games, and we
That's
finished
cool.
printing last month. So,
Usually, how long does it take from China to the USA? I mean, I know we always say USA, but there's actually three USA: one from the east, one from the west, and one from the middle. That we made explain a little bit that it depends on the port of destination, that it goes to one port or the other, or you have to get to the port and then move on truck to the destinations. But usually, what are the time lapse that you take from the
um,
game to the
so,
USA?
so I have two options for shipping. One of them is slow shipping, which is to the US around 60 days.
Okay,
Obviously, West Coast will be faster than the
and the
Midwest.
east on the mid.
East, depending. If I ship the container to the east, then east will be faster than Midwest. But most likely it will be West, Midwest, and East. Um, but still, it'll be like a difference of like 5, 6 days, not too long.
Okay,
And so we have two options. One of them is fast shipping, which is 35 days. Within 35 days, you will get your games from the time they leave the factory until they get to your door, not to port or whatever. They get to your
yeah,
door, to your doorstep. It will take 35 days. Or if you don't want to pay the extra, or you're not urgent on the games, you can do 65 days or 60
65,
days.
60, 65. Okay,
Yeah.
just
And then you can have the third option. You want really cheap. You can do 80 days, 90 days, 100 days.
we will talk about USA, but what about Europe? How everything is going in Europe?
Um, Well, so it's over here. I'll give like general information for everyone, and then I'll say how it is with us, because I work in the same ways that I work in the U.S., also in Europe.
Okay,
Um, so the way it works, usually for people is, let's say you manufacture somewhere, you have like, let's say you small customer, you have 3 CBM, 4 CBM. One container, 20-foot container holds like 26 CBM.
yeah, 20.
Yeah, so you're filling up a bit of a container. You consolidated your container with someone else. It reaches you have your own bill of lading for your merchandise. Um, then it gets to the port in Germany, Poland. Poland is a bit dangerous. Norway, UK, wherever it is, right? And then the agent, you're supposed to have like a custom agent in Europe to be able to pick up your bill of lading, clear customs, and then arrange trucking to your place. So I mean that's how it is in Europe, and that takes very, very long as well if you're not a professional.
Yeah,
Okay, but it can take like 70, 80 days to
okay,
Europe these days. The way I work is in the same way that I work with the US. Simply one container every week committed to a place in Europe, which then distributes all the games or all the shipments to all the different addresses, but
Yeah.
it's all under one bill of lading. It's all under one. It's real consolidation. Everything is under one bill, gets to one warehouse. When it gets to the warehouse in Europe, then it gets distributed to all the different places.
So
And the
it's pretty
reason,
much like a fulfillment system, meaning it will go straight to one spot, and from then you will do the shipping. It might be, I mean, even you say different address, it might be only one address, but you will do this path that it goes from China to this warehouse, and from this warehouse to the customer, even if it's
exactly.
one destination. Okay.
Yeah, you usually have like 4 or 5 customers per container, but
Yeah.
when I import into Europe, it's all under one bill, so
One
it's a lot
bill to the warehouse,
faster.
and then
Yeah,
it's split.
and then the customer also doesn't need to, like, if you're a small customer, I mean, we can touch more about it later on, but if you're a small
Yeah.
customer, go figure VAT, go figure duty, go figure custom clearance. Forget about it. It's not like you're shipping 20 containers a year. You're shipping 2 CBM a year, maybe if you're lucky.
Yeah.
Um,
Two,
so
two things.
yeah,
Two things. One, it's CBM. It's cubic. I mean,
meter.
for people to know, one CBM is 1 meter by 1 meter by 1 meter. The pallet size. That's the goods that you can
It's
hold
not
there.
pallet
So
size. It's
that's
not
not
pallet
pallet
size.
size.
No,
Oh,
it's
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 cubic meter.
simply cubic meter. Yeah.
Okay. I thought that the pallet was one
The
meter by 1 meter, so it was just like okay.
the yeah, pallets are different sizes, different countries, because
Okay.
every
Yeah.
warehouse uses different one. But even the pallets, people in shippings, they don't calculate a pallet. They calculate how
They
much space
calculate
does a
cubic meter.
pallet take.
Well,
Yeah.
the thing what I was going is that if you can consider the size of your box, you have to know with that size how much of your games are going to hold on that cubic meter. So that's a good thing for designers to know. So if you have a game that is 10 by 10 by 10, okay, how many of those games are going to fit on this cubic meter? Well, we just divide it by 100 by 100 by 100, you will have demand. So it's 10 by 10 by 10. You will have 1,000 games on
But
that. That's
it's also not exact science, because
yeah, it's more or less. I mean, that I want to
more or
just
less is
explain a
different.
little bit the designer how it works and why do you ship cubic meters and why a game that it has a 50 centimeter box it's gonna be a lot more expensive than having a one that is half of it. Just to explain designers that there's
Oh, yeah,
sometimes it's weight, but sometimes it's measure the main problem on shipping.
yeah. So if your game is very big, obviously it will become very expensive. Um, and you there was a trend a few years ago where designers were making massive boxes. They were
Yeah.
practically empty. Everyone was inspired by, like, what is that Asmodee's game with the coins, Splendor, you know?
Splendor.
Yeah,
Splendor,
we're
this huge amount of boxes,
massive.
that tiny little components.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So everybody was
we call
inspired
it.
by them.
Yeah, thank God that now that's what we call selling air, and everyone, due
Everyone
to
is aware of
pandemic,
it.
probably knows that that's expensive and that's useless right now. So, thank God it changed that. But yeah, there was a time that everyone wants to make these huge, massive boxes, and the games are only two components.
The
Yeah,
right size box
shipping,
for the right size
shipping,
game.
and eco-friendly. By the way, eco-friendly. It's a great topic that I want to discuss, not in this one, but later on, because I think it's really, really important to know what the companies are doing in an eco-friendly environment. But yeah, as I said, now there's a better knowledge about how much you will add to your game in a marketing way. If you just add more boxes size and huge things, it will increase the cost and it will not be any beneficial. And not just the designers are knowing that, but the players are also knowing that. So now, question number 4: what are the suitable shipping solutions for small comparison in large publishers? What are the suitable shipping solutions on that?
Okay, so this is again a yeah, this is an essential question that everybody needs to know the answer to. And I think I touched about it a little bit before. So, okay, what is a large order? What is a small order for shipping?
Now, let's
That's a
go.
that's a good
Let's
question.
define that. What's the
Yeah.
large one? I mean,
Uh,
large meaning a whole
in
container.
um, well, a large one will be like 3 full 40-foot containers. That would be a large one when you can
Okay.
actually negotiate. I mean, but that's like 100,000 games or whatever the size of the game is. Yeah.
How many do I have to have with this?
For that one.
Maybe million.
No, it will be
Okay.
64 CBM per container. What is that?
Uh,
180, 192. 192
okay. No.
CBM. Yeah, you will have around $192,000.
Okay. I'm a small one.
192,000 games. Yeah, yeah.
I consider myself a small one.
No, but
Go
but
ahead.
big publishers have like bigger games, you know. So
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I know.
they maybe need 50,000, 60,000. But that's a very big order where you can actually go to the freight company directly and say, I mean, if you're at that level, you should already book your own containers directly and commit to them as well every month or every week or whatever, however long you do a project.
Yeah. You're
Um,
probably gonna have your own shipping mechanism
yeah,
later on.
directly with the freight company,
Yeah.
no like middle people and whatnot. If you're smart. Um, but then if you're small, I mean, if you're medium company,
Medium to
you want to
small,
fill
let's
up.
say.
Yeah, no, medium to big. You want to ship like a container.
Okay.
You want to ship a container. I mean, you don't have enough containers every year to book directly with a freight company. Um, you know, you wanna you want to buy containers from other shipping companies, but theoretically, you most likely, okay, and it really changed since a pandemic. You want to book a full container, okay, because when you get a full
No.
container, you get as much space as possible for a fixed price, basically, and you can pack it in with whatever it is you want. Now, so if you reach to half a container, if your shipment is half a container, half a container will be around 12 CBM, 13 CBM. If you have a big game I don't know, this game Soria, for example, which is a pretty good game. I mean, if you do 2,000 sets, you're filling up half a container. Um, so then you want to ship by CBM. Okay, it's like a 30 on 30 on
Yeah.
7.6, a standard big size box.
It's not a
So
big side. Yeah.
yeah. So even 1,500 or 2,000, you're already filling up a whole container. And then you want to ship by CBM. Okay. And you want to ship to the port, and from the port, release it and get it to yourself, because then the price per CBM works where you have a high fixed cost in the beginning. And then the price per CBM, it gets lower. So if you have like 13 CBM, you're going to pay a fixed price of, let's say you have around $2,400 for the shipment. And then for each CBM, you will add another like $250. But then if you have 2 CBM, 3 CBM, 5 CBM, 6 CBM, it's not worth the $2,400 fixed cost of shipping it. And it's not necessarily 2,400. I'm just throwing here a worst case scenario number of fixed costs. If you live like somewhere crazy or whatever, um, but but yeah, so what you want to do is you want to ship it per kilo. And this is a service where what I was telling you is that I have a container like every week leaving to the US and Europe, and that container calculates per kilo.
Not
And
not per size. I mean, in that case, you consider
no
the
fixed
cost of per
costs,
kilo.
no fixed costs at all. No fixed costs at all, because a container leaves every week. No fixed costs. The container with or without you will leave. So nobody, you're not booking a container, you're not clearing the customs in
But
China, clearing the customs in the
you
destination country. No fixed
it's a
costs.
total. Yeah, I mean, it's a total friendly shipping solution. Meaning, you have that spot each week. It's gonna drop
Yes.
the container to port. So you will say that this is a great small publisher solution. Meaning, you don't have to worry about anything. You have a price that
It's per
it's pretty
kilo. It's
much
more or less stable,
more
and
or
it's
less
per
stable.
kilo. Yeah, if you have 200 kilos, it'll be 200 times 3.5, or times 4 if you're in the UK, or times 2.9 if you're in California, whatever, but the price is fixed, and the price is easy to understand, and there are no fixed costs. So you can ship 200 kilos for what will be, let's say $700 or $800. Okay. Um,
Okay, but
and that's
how
much
about
lower.
one thing?
Yeah.
It doesn't depend on the size of the box. I mean, if it's a small box but it weighs 3 kilos, it's going to be expensive. It depends on the components in that way.
Correct. But again, sometimes it doesn't happen a lot in board games. I'll show you one game that it does happen in. Um, for example, this amazing Christmas gift, Christmas game. So, for example, this game is inside. The components are very light, and it might weigh like 400 grams. But the volume weight of this game. So the volume weight, the height versus times width times depth divided by 5,000 or 6,000, depending on the country, will be around 600 grams. So that's when we consider the size of the game. But in board games, generally speaking, the
Generally,
board
it's
game
not that
is
way.
always heavier than the size,
Yeah.
than the volume weight of the box,
Okay.
except in extreme scenarios.
Maybe until we move to the next question, I need to ask one thing: is that for small publishers, what you're offering is a big solution, not just for shipping, but also for custom clearance. I mean, what you're saying is everything is included, right? It's pretty much like a turnkey solution.
Yeah. It's a term that is called a DDP, so it's door-to-door paid. Basically,
Door-to-door.
the customer doesn't need to take care of anything. He simply gets the games to his door.
Okay. So that's great. Let's move to the next question. Actually, you just said DDP. You said LCL before I heard, so I want to know about that also. But we go to the fifth question actually, and all that LCE, FCE, EVABO, all those letters mean something. Those are shipping terms, right?
Yeah. They're
So
part of the
we
jargon.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean. The one that I didn't know much about is LCL. What does mean? What does mean? Let's move to
Yeah.
later to the usual shipping terms. But you said LCL, and I want to know what that is.
Yeah. Okay. So LCL and FCL are friends. LCL means less container load. Okay. So let's
Okay.
say a 20-foot container. It has 26 CBM. You have only 3 CBM. Again, CBM is cubic meter.
Cubic meter.
Yeah, so 1 meter on 1 meter on 1 meter. So you have 3 CBM. The container has 26 CBM. So your shipment is less of a container load, and that's called LCL. And usually
Okay.
with LCL, what the shipping company you work with does is combines your shipment with like 20 other shipments and put them all together in one container to fill up
That's
one container.
called consolidation, right?
Yeah, that's also consolidation, but it's not a
Not
hundred
necessarily
percent
the same thing.
consolidation.
Yeah.
I mean, it is consolidation, but it's not like 100%.
Okay. And you
So
said
that's
the other
called
one?
LCL.
What?
The
And the other
the
one is
LCL's opposite is FCL. That's the full
FCL
container load. Yeah, so that's where you fill up a whole container
with
by
all that.
yourself. I mean, you don't have to fill up the whole container.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if you do
You
17
you
CBM,
explain later, as
yeah,
you
if you do,
explained before.
yeah,
You can get a whole cargo, but just one box. That is totally up to you, actually.
exactly,
Okay,
exactly.
so but those not the usual shipping terms. We hear a lot about X work, FOB, CIF, DDU, DTP. Oh my God, OMG. Let's talk about those. Actually,
Okay,
what are
so yeah,
those?
let's start from the least to the most.
Okay,
So you have the first term is EXW, X work. That's
X work.
basically where the factory makes it, and it's your responsibility to pick it up from the factory and organize all the
Yeah, it's just
shipments.
like X work. It says the factory says, "Okay, I done the game. Here it is,"
Here it
and that's
is.
it.
Yeah,
Here it is,
go do
and
whatever you want.
point to
Yeah,
the. Okay,
you
so
have
from
2 weeks to
there,
pick it up. You have 2 weeks to pick it up.
yeah, because they're gonna charge you if you go over 2 weeks.
Yeah, or 1 month or
Yeah,
whatever.
and
Yeah,
from there you need to track to the port to the ship to the sea, and everything is on to you. Okay,
yeah,
that's
and it's
X
not too
work.
difficult because you do have people like if you're in the US, or if you're Europe, or Australia, or wherever you are, you do have companies in those countries that work in China as well. So you can just need
So
to
yeah,
find one of
you
those
can.
countries, one of those
I mean, it
companies,
doesn't mean that
and
the
trust them.
important thing about that is that when you quote your game, you need to take care of the small letters and see if the game that you're quoting it's X work, it's FOB, it's
Yes.
CIF. Why? Because FOB it's
FOB
Move to the other one.
means the factory sends, so your agent in your destination country books a warehouse in China, in Shanghai or Ningbo or Qingdao or Guangzhou or Shenzhen or Xiamen or wherever it is he's shipping from. He books a slot in the warehouse in that port, in Chinese port, and then your factory sends the merchandise to that warehouse slot that your agent in your destination country booked.
So
And that's
as
called
you
FOB.
see, we're just talking that FX work. It's meaning from in the factory. FOB it's meaning okay from the
From the
factory to
Chinese
that
port.
warehouse. That's the responsibility still from the manufacturer. So we're
Yes.
now on the
FOB.
warehouse. So
Yeah.
what does CIF mean? The other one.
CIF means that the factory is responsible to send it to the destination port. So let's say you are in Sydney, Australia, or in Hamburg, Germany. So the factory's responsibility is to send the container to the destination country's port, including all insurance or shipping insurance. So that will be CIF. CIF can be divided over there into two. Some CIF, some factories say, okay, I'm sending it to the port destination warehouse, and then okay, that's it. What about the charges in the destination warehouse, in the destination
Yeah.
port? Yeah, what about the charges in the destination port?
Are they included or not? It depends.
It depends. Yeah, so
Okay.
CIF paid or unpaid, but yeah, usually they should be included as well.
Yeah, well, but because there's not a well-defined stuff, we may suggest to use XWork, FOB, or let's move to the other one, which is DDU.
Yeah, CIF is also okay, but DDU
Okay.
DDU is where the factory's responsibility is to send it to your door, not including duty and VAT, or if you're in Australia, GST, but not including duty and VAT. Or
Okay.
in the UK, it's actually in the US, it's actually tax. It's not even VAT, but yeah. So the factory says, okay, you know what? I'm going to send everything to your house. I have a trucking company in the US. I have or in Europe or in the UK or whatever, and they will pick up from the port and send to you. But the custom clearance and who pays the custom clearance is not up to the factory. And you can see that actually with a lot of like VAT, where if you're a backer for a game, sometimes, especially if you're in Norway, um, if yeah, it happens a lot in Norway. So you pay the VAT of getting the package to your hands. Actually, for you, Pablo, as well. You're in Argentina. I bet when you get packages, you also pay VAT to the government.
Yeah, we need to pay everything. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and a lot. Not just everything, but a lot.
A lot of money, and you don't get the game.
Yeah. And I don't get it. So anyway,
Yeah,
let's not talk about
Argentina.
that specific countries that are
Yeah.
around.
But that's
Yeah.
DDU. DDU is a factory says I'll send everything to you, but it doesn't include GST, VAT, or tax, or duty
Okay.
if any charges happen, and stuff like that. And then the last one, which is ideal for small creators, because they just don't have all the
DDP.
resources, DDP is door-to-door paid. Wherever you send the games, you get your games to the warehouse or to your house, to your door, including everything, including the duty, including the VAT, whatever it is, you simply get it to your door. And
So for
that's
small publishers, the DDP or
ideal.
I mean,
Yeah,
the
ideal.
DDP, it's amazing. It's something that it's just like, oh, it's DDP. That's it. I don't worry anymore. I just
Exactly.
need to
I know I'm
push the
getting my
design.
games in 4 months, and that's it. I know, it's like, yeah, it's a small publisher that says, okay, once I submit my artwork to the factory, I know I'm getting my games. I finished my job. Instead of
Yeah,
like,
all I have to do is pay. That's it.
yeah, all I have to do is pay for once I have the artwork ready, and I'm good, and I done my job. And let the professionals do what the professionals do.
Okay, let's move to the last one that we have, and well, that's the simplest one. What's fulfillment means? What's the whole concept of fulfillment?
So fulfillment means, so if you do a Kickstarter or a crowdfunding campaign of any sort, or pre-sale of your product, so that means you have like, I mean, there are two types of fulfillment. One of them is for crowdfunding. So let's say you have a list of 300 backers with different addresses worldwide. You need to get the game to 300 different addresses all at once. So that's one type of fulfillment,
Okay.
and it's very
Okay.
complicated.
What's this? What is the strategy to fulfill that fulfillment process? Actually. Uh,
But generally speaking, you need to outline the zones where you're shipping to, where your backers are from. So you will have North America, which is like US and Canada. And then you can ship everything to the US, and from the US, ship to backers in Canada. If you have a lot of backers in Canada, you want to ship to Canada.
and you need to split that region in two.
Into, yeah. And the same thing goes with EU and UK. So it used to be that EU and UK was one and very easy, but now it's separate. So
But why you as a? I mean, shipping it means from factory to one warehouse. Let's say in the
correct,
USA. And then from the warehouse, there's going to be a
to the
company
backer.
that will do the fulfillment there, because what you do during shipping, it's all the custom clearance and that, VAT
Correct.
and duties and everything. So you put the game on the USA. Now it's a grounded product. That's what we usually call landing cost, meaning
Yes.
it's the cost to produce the game plus the cost to ship to that warehouse. So we have it there.
Correct.
Fulfillment doesn't end there. You meaning fulfillment actually it's
Fulfillment is
only
from
a part of
no,
it.
no. Fulfillment is from that point,
From that point to
from
the
the
rest.
warehouse to the backer. That's fulfillment. Yes.
Okay. Two things that I need to question. One, it is necessary if I go to produce with Hero Time to do the fulfillment, or you just do the shipping and that's it? That's one. Or do you do also the fulfillment as well? I mean, does the company offer the whole set solution?
Okay. So the biggest problem I've had in fulfillment, from my personal experience, was communicating with the warehouses. If I'm honest, Hero Time, if I cannot go and open warehouses in the EU and ship. And I can do this in China, but if I ship directly from China, the prices are not necessarily the cheapest they're not
Yeah.
competitive enough for fulfillment. So what I'm good at, my strong suit is shipping to the warehouse anywhere in the world, or not anywhere in the world, but Canada, US, UK, EU, Australia, New Zealand. That's my strong suit, sending to those locations, to those warehouses. And in each of those countries, they have fulfillment centers. In each of those countries, there's already a fulfillment center. Okay.
Yeah.
So what I simply did was contact those fulfillment centers and say, listen, let's cooperate. I will send to yours to use the games and you fulfill, but make sure you treat my game creators very, very well. Well, we also have a second fulfillment. Second fulfillment is not something I offer. Second fulfillment is, you open a shop on Amazon
Yeah.
or you open a shop online, and then every order that comes in, you want to send the game to the end customer. So that's also fulfillment. So actually, the warehouses I work with also offer that. So you can leave more games by them and simply do fulfillment with them later on. Um,
Yeah,
that's also possible.
once you have, actually that's pretty cool, because some may say, no, I don't want to produce my game because I don't have space to hold it. Well, or maybe need to rent a space or whatever. There's some companies that they will rent you the space, because some of them they actually charge you for having the goods, the qubit, the CBM of your games on their warehouses. Um, but it means that, okay, you have a solution, you have a spot there that is fully prepared for when you sell something. You just put the address there, and then it will ship
Or
that
yeah,
the goods for you.
yeah.
That's great. They're gonna charge you. It's not that expensive, uh, but there's a solution. Yeah,
Right,
that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
right.
Okay, Hirsch. I think that's it. It was great I think the shipping is quite an issue this nowadays. When I start doing all this designer stuff of board games, we didn't care about shipping because it was something cheap and easy to do. But turns out that now it's quite a big issue, and there's a lot of concern about it. And there's also a lot of misunderstanding. So because there's a lot of misunderstanding, there's a lot of things that you heard around that are, I don't know, they're not true. It's great to know that you know them, and as designer, I know that I can get to the manufacturing company and you can solve me all these problems. And I know that magic word DTP, I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna save it, because now from now on I'm gonna say everything DTP. No, DTP. I want a drink, DTP here, just put it here. That's the secret words. And well, that's pretty much it. Once again, thank you so much for your time. I know that this it takes a little longer than usually, and that's probably because you really engage on this stuff that we talk about, and you really
Yeah,
like to explain it.
it's a lot of
Uh,
information. Shipping is a whole
yeah,
world.
yeah. Each topic it's a whole world. I mean, if it's this one is the first one that you heard, we have another one that is called Market. The first one that we do, the first podcast that we do. I hope that this one is just another one from the upcoming podcast that we're going to develop. The idea is to have this podcast. One of them have questions that people ask. If you have any question, you can do it at Hero Time. You can
No,
get
they
into
can
our website.
even on the YouTube. I mean, they can ask
Yeah,
questions on YouTube, on
I mean,
Facebook. They can
you
find you on
can do the
Facebook.
question on. You can contact us whatever you want. I mean, you just look for Hero Time or Hero Time Manufacturing on YouTube, on the socials, Facebook, Instagram, whatever you
Google,
want.
whatever.
Do the questions there. If you think that the question is really interesting for other designers, we put it in this list that we develop for each topic. And in upcoming podcast, we may reply that ones. Remember that the website of the company is pretty cool. It's herotimewhat.com. I will put it in the video anyway. You have a lot of information there. There's a spot there that is called knowledge base, and a lot of the things that we covered today, they're there, so you can have a read about it.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you so much, Herb, for your time, and for those who get to this point, thank you so much for hearing us. And if you have any question, again, just do it anywhere, and we will reply it as fast as possible.
Yeah.
So, okay, that's it for